YouTube, it's me, Just Kinda 2, coming to you with another sexy video. How the heck are you? So I know this video is not really that sexy at all. But yeah, so I just wanted to make this video because I felt inspired. I was watching videos. A lot been going on with me. I moved. I used to live in Orlando, and I moved to Georgia. So that's right there is a lot. Just moved into our new home about 3 weeks ago. We've been here since June. All of that is whatever, but the real topic of this video, I was inspired by someone else's video that I was watching, and I realized maybe I should share my story as well. I actually made a video during the situation, but I couldn't even really finish it entirely because it was just very emotional for me. And so I figured, I mean, not that I'm like 100%, but I'm able to talk about it now. Okay. I know you're probably like, dang, what you talking about? So, I guess the early part of this year, I announced my pregnancy of baby number 3. Super excited. And in May, I started like spotting. So I don't remember spotting with my other 2 children. So I called my sister because she has a lot of children. I asked her, I'm like, have you ever spotted? I don't know why I'm spotting. She's like, no, but it could happen or whatever, but I don't remember, she didn't remember going through it either. I was like, oh, okay. So the second day was still kind of like it was like getting heavier. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I told my mom, I said, Mommy, I don't know what's going on. Like, I didn't feel any cramping or any pain or anything. I just felt like, ugh. You know how you just feel like, ugh? Well, I felt like, ugh. So, I was like, okay, well, I don't know what's going on with me. I'm supposed to spend the weekend with my mom that weekend. And she's like, well, okay, well, when I get off of work, I'll come, pick you and the children up. I said, okay. So before she got to the house, when she got to the house, I was in the bathroom. I said, Mommy, I don't feel right. And she was like, well, do you want to still spend the weekend with me? I said, yes, ma'am. I just don't feel, I just didn't feel right. So we were headed back to her house, which is about an hour and a half away, and we was getting on the expressway, and I said, Mom, I really don't feel right. She said, well, we'll turn around and we'll just stay the night at your house. I said, okay. I just, monitor the spotting and everything, and so I called my midwife. I actually called her the first day. It was kind of like light red. So, anyway, I called my midwife as soon as I got back to the house and told her the situation. She's like, well, if you're filling up a pad, like within an hour or so, like if you're filling it up that fast, then you need to go to the emergency room. I said, okay, well, it's not doing that. She said, then you might be fine, maybe, whatever. But she said, feel if you don't feel comfortable, feel free to give me a call and come to the office, or if it's an emergency, go to the emergency room. I said, okay, I'll just monitor it because I wasn't like 100% sure exactly what it was. So later that night, around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I went to the bathroom and it was a lot, like dripping blood. And I'm like, yeah, this is not good. So I called my midwife, and she was like, yeah, just come in, you'll be my first appointment. So my mom took me to the appointment. Did I have my children? No. My husband was able to care for the children because he got off that night before. So, yeah, that's right. So me and my mom went to my midwife, and she checked me out. Of course, she couldn't hear a heartbeat. And I never actually got to hear it because it was that I was having a problem with my Medicaid and I wasn't able to make an appointment, and because I'm having a midwife, I'm not going to the hospital. I couldn't come until my Medicaid kicked in. I mean, I went to, anyway, I was trying to get all that straight before I had my regular appointments. Long story short, she checked me out. She's like, I'm gonna take you to get an ultrasound. She said, I'm gonna fill out, the form, and you just go get an ultrasound. So went to go get the ultrasound. The lady looked, didn't see a baby, and so she didn't tell me I don't see a baby, but I looked at the screen and didn't see a baby. So she was like, well, I'm gonna let your midwife know about the results. She said, do you want to stay here? because maybe your midwife will allow me to share the results with you. So I said, okay. So my mom and I just waited in the waiting room. Then she called me back in. It's like, okay, your midwife wants you to come in back to her office, and the distance is only like 10 minutes. So right then and there, I knew I had miscarried because I know my midwife wouldn't want somebody else to tell me that. So I went in to my midwife, back to my midwife, and she told me, you're in the process of miscarrying. And it's like when I heard her say it, my heart felt like it just stopped beating. You know what I mean? Like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, I'm healthy now. You know, I lost all this weight. Like, what is the deal? So, anyway, so she told me that, and she said within the next couple weeks, you'll start, having contractions and everything, and your body will naturally expel whatever else that needs to come out. And so I said, okay, left her office, and I just felt like it was going to happen sooner than that. And so I called my husband as soon as I got back in the car. I didn't go anywhere, and I was trying to tell him that my midwife said was I miscarried, and I couldn't even say the word. I couldn't even, like, I was historically crying. You know how you cry after you get beat and you can barely breathe? That's how it was. And so my mom had to take the phone and say, of course she didn't share it with my husband. She just said, she is going through something right now, and we'll call you back as soon as she can, as soon as she can talk. So I know, I'm pretty sure that my husband kind of got what I was saying, but I couldn't even say the full word miscarriage. I just kept, Anyway, so we drove home, and my mom had to stop by her job because she wasn't gonna work, of course, and to tell them, the situation and why she can't come back to, go to work or whatever. And I got home, and I just wanted to. What I really wanted to do is just go to the park and just be in silence so that I can think. Um, but I know my husband really wanted me to come home because he was trying to figure out what was going on. And as soon as I came in the house, I went and laid on the bed, and he came and hugged me. He's like, "Babe, what's wrong? What is it?" And I told him, and he was just like, just rest, just take some time and just chill out mode. And so, I didn't want to, like, stay in that, spirit of mind, even though I know it's natural to grieve over a loss, but I don't like to stay there. I don't. That's very uncomfortable to me. For me, for anybody, it should be to be uncomfortable. Anyway, so I came out. I know it's a long story. I know, very detailed. I know. So I came out the kitchen trying to, trying to clean up, trying to get my mind off of it, even though I know what was taking place. My son, my husband trying to explain it to my son, and he asked me, he said, "Mommy, how come you don't have the baby in your belly anymore? What do you say?" And so I told him, I said, "Well, it must not have been God's will, and maybe whenever He feels fit to bless us with another gift, then I will be pregnant again." And I pretty much ran in my room and closed the door and just bawled out of control. I just could not stop crying because it's like I didn't know how to. I mean, he was 5 at the time. I was like, I don't know how to explain that to him. He knows that I was pregnant with my daughter, Poetry, and she came. So what's the problem with this baby? So he had a whole lot of questions. I had a whole lot of questions. But during that process, I was granted, hallelujah, healing through my writings. And so I began to write and express everything that was in my heart. And thankfully, I was able to share that with others and trying to have a better platform to share that spoken word. Anyway, long story short, I miscarried, and they said it was, I actually, the embryo actually stopped growing like it's supposed to at 6 or 7 weeks, and I expelled it. It was around 12. I was in my 12th week when I was supposed to have my first appointment, my first real appointment. So it took 6 weeks to expel out my body, and then they checked my HCG levels to make sure it was going down, and that whole process. But like it was kind of confusing because I know I've heard so many stories of people had aches and pains and cramps. I didn't have that in the beginning when I was started to spot. Now when I ended that following day, because my husband had to go to work, he was like, well, why don't you go ahead and go with your mom? You'll be with your mom. Your mom can take care of you until you expel this whatever else after birth out of you. So I said okay, and so went to my mom's house. This happened in the course of 3 days. Got As soon as I got to my mom's house later that evening, I started getting the cramps. I started getting the contractions, and so I pretty much sat on the toilet. Sorry, sat on the toilet for like an hour, if not more, and it was just like draining, like a slow faucet of blood. Sorry to be graphic, but that's real. It's like a slow drain, so I'm just like, I need to call my midwife because I don't know if this is supposed to be happening because it's like literally not dripping, but like draining, like as if I'm urinating. Like it was gross. I know. Sorry. So I called her. She's like, well, how much have you lost? How much do you have any blood clots or anything? She said, take pictures. I want to see it. So I was taking pictures, and she's like, yeah, unfortunately, that is normal. I'm like, I was only the reason I was so fearful is because after I had poetry, I hemorrhaged a lot. So I'm just like, I think I'm losing too much blood. Like this is not right. And so finally, I was able to get off the toilet, and I just kept, you know, cleansing down there, and I had, my pad that I had when I had poetry, and then I had towels on top of towels because I didn't want it to, it's not a pretty process. Anyway, so went through that. It seemed like it all came out that evening. And so the next day, I felt like, I felt better. I got up. It was a Friday, so I got up, did my usual baking the bread, and I sat down for the whole time. Did my usual whatever. So my mom gets home that evening. No, no, did she go to work? No, she didn't go to work. My bad. She came. She went to the store and got a couple things so that I can have, things to eat. Anyway, so she came home later on that afternoon, and she's like, well, oh, I need to go here and go here there. I'll bring the children with me. I said, oh, I want to go because I was feeling a little better. And so she goes, oh, okay. So I got the children ready. We waited by the garage door, and I just sat there. And she came out, and I said, okay. And so I was about to get up, and I just didn't feel right. I said, I feel a little dizzy. She's like, well, you need to, we'll go to the store later. You just need to rest. So she was getting me back up to go lay me down in the room, and all of a sudden I got blank, and she says I was not responding to her. I didn't. It's like I heard her, but I couldn't respond. I couldn't open my mouth and speak. And so she was trying to catch me so that my head doesn't fall on the floor or whatever. And she's like, she said, I heard her telling my son to call 911 to get the phone and call 911. So they ended up calling 911, and the paramedics got here. And by the time the paramedics got there, it was only like a few minutes. Like they were like awesome fast, I reckon. She said they came in minutes. Anyway, by that time I was feeling better and I wanted to get up, and they was like, no, lady, like for real, you just passed out. So I said, I was thinking about bills and Medicaid not going through yet, and I'm like, I told my mom, I said, please call Tony and see what he wants me to do. Crazy, I know. Of course, my husband's like, get on the ambulance. And so they started to hook me up to an IV. I said, what's in that? Because, me being natural all the way around, I'm like, what's in that IV that you putting in me? And he's like, oh, it's just water and salt or something crazy, something natural. But I'm like, So they hooked me up to the IV to check my vitals, and my heart rate was low and all that stuff. And I was like, I did mainly the main thing was I didn't want my son to see me like that. You know what I'm saying? And so I got on the ambulance and I just was trying. It's like I don't know what to explain, how to explain this to my son. And anyway, long story short, not really. Got to the hospital. They didn't see me until like another 2 hours after I was sitting there. I was like, I feel fine. I want to go home. Anyway, they did another ultrasound. They said that I still have stuff that needs to come out of my body. I need to take it easy. And now we're here, 4 months later, and my menstrual came on twice this month. With I'm not really understanding why completely. I mean, I know I've been stressing because trying to get Jonathan transferred. I know he's in homeschool, but trying to get it transferred because he has testing coming up that he actually has to go to a facility to take, and I wasn't gonna go right, back to Florida to do that. So I was trying to get him transferred, and they're not doing what they need to do. So now I'm trying to get him enrolled in another homeschool program, and then I'm just stressing about trying to get everything situated. This is a whole bunch, and I know maybe that's why it brought my menstrual on again. I'm hoping. I don't know. Anywho, that was it. I just wanted to share with you my experience on my miscarriage. If you have any questions, please hit me up. I do have pictures, but I wasn't going to show them on YouTube because they're really, really disgusting. And I don't know why I keep them because they're still in my phone after sending them to my midwife. But to see everything and like see where the spinal, well, not the spinal cord, where the umbilical cord was developing, is really gross and very heartbreaking. Like I don't think about it often, but like when my body starts doing something crazy, I think about it. And so because my started my second menstrual this month, of course I started thinking about it like, well maybe if did I get pregnant and I'm you know how all these stupid questions, these enemy how the enemy starts to eat away at your mind and whatever. So I just wanted to share that, get that off my chest, share it with the world because I know I never did a follow-up video as far as my pregnancy, and the Most High didn't see fit to allow this gift to continue to grow, regardless of what would have been wrong. A lot of people say, oh, maybe, the baby would have been mentally disabled, whatever the situation would have been or could have been. If I were to give birth um, to this gift, it was for a reason, and only y'all knows. So yeah. So if you have any questions, if you're experiencing anything, I don't know everything, trust. But you don't realize how many people go through these things until you go through it. But anyway, in the meantime, be good, be blessed, and shalom.